Welcome back to Dwindling DS Diva. My name is Amber, and today we're going to talk about the loop duodenal switch, or loop DS. So, the surgery is fairly new, and there's a lot of confusion around it. So, I've heard people say that these different acronyms are not the same surgery, but they are. So if you've ever heard of the SIPS surgery or the SADI surgery, those are all the same thing. And I'll go ahead and explain each of them to you. So with the SADI, that stands for single anastomosis duodenal bypass with sleeve gastrectomy. What that means is it is a single anastomosis, which stands for a single cut. They transect the intestine in one location. And the sleeve gastrectomy is basically a VSG. So with the SIPS acronym, it stands for stomach intestinal pylorus sparing surgery. So all that is referring to is that it is basically a sleeve gastronomy, and that they keep the pylorus valve intact because they transect the intestine just below the pylorus valve in the duodenum. Again, same surgery. And the loop DS that you may have heard of is just referring to the loop in the intestine that the surgery makes when they do the entire bypass. So what they're actually doing is they're going to go in and they're going to basically perform a VSG, the vertical sleeve gastronomy. I have an entire video on that if you want to know more information on what that is. It's just making a banana-shaped tube out of your stomach. Because they keep the basic function of the stomach the same by sparing that pylorus valve, your stomach function is the same, which means you can eat relatively normally. With the intestinal portion, they are transecting the intestine. That just means cutting it at one location, which is right below the pylorus valve, and then they bring up the lowest part of your small intestine and they make a little hole in the side of it and stick that end to your stomach. So the other part of your intestine is still there. They just kind of pin that up behind your stomach and it stays there. It does continue to have a function as well. So with this particular surgery, the risks are very similar to your other bariatric surgeries that are out there. So if you've ever heard of patients having problems with malabsorption and having a lot of risk because of it, that is common with the traditional duodenal switch. I'm not saying that it happens to everyone. By all means, do your own research. Make sure that you've thoroughly thought everything out, because there's a lot of information. I'm just trying to highlight each of these surgeries. So with the loop duodenal switch, or SADI SIPS surgery, the common channel length is actually twice as long as it is with the traditional DS. So it mitigates a lot of those malabsorption issues, but yet you have enough malabsorption to still have very successful weight loss with this surgery. Now, the food that you eat comes down to your lower intestine much sooner than it traditionally would without the surgery, which causes you to have a release in the appetite suppressing hormones a lot quicker, which is peptide 1 and polypeptide YY. You also, because of the VSG portion of the surgery, do have that change with the ghrelin in your body as well, like you do with the other surgeries. The top half of your intestine, where they leave it still in there, it's not just dangling, like I said, it does have a function. It now carries bile and pancreatic juices that meet at that lower portion of the intestine. That's actually called the biliopancreatic limb. And so that portion that carries the juices is the biliopancreatic limb. Once they meet and the food goes down into the rest of your intestines, that is the alimentary limb or the common channel. So when I said the common channel length is twice as long, is that portion from where the juices meet with the food in your intestines and start to be absorbed by your body all the way down. So that is basically what the duodenal switch is. Again, please do your research. A lot of information. I'm not a doctor. I can't memorize it all. So go do your research. Make sure that you're getting the best surgery for you. For me, I have decided to go with this surgery. This is perfect for me. For me, it is the perfect marriage between the VSG and the RNY or gastric bypass. So with this surgery, it cures diabetes in 96 to 99% of patients. And that is like beyond the best reason for me to have this surgery, because that is life-changing for me. That is one of the biggest reasons that I can't lose weight, is because of my diabetes. I also have a thyroid disease that plays into that as well. But diabetes is awful. It's such a horrible, horrible illness. And I am insulin dependent, and insulin makes you gain weight, and you need insulin to keep your blood sugars low. And it's just a vicious cycle that I personally just can't get out of. And this is going to help me beat diabetes. They've actually been looking into bariatric surgery just to treat type 2 diabetes, and not even people who have weight issues. So it is amazing, and I hope that it really becomes something that people talk about more, because that right there is just life altering, to be able to go from having diabetes to not having it anymore. And with this surgery as well, because they do spare that pylorus valve, you can basically eat more normal meals than you could if you had, for instance, the gastric bypass. So, or even the VSG, because if you think about it, with the VSG, like I explained, over time you're able to eat more food. So if you don't have a really good grasp on your control, and you don't watch what you eat really carefully, you're probably going to gain weight again and slip back into the same issues. With the gastric bypass, you don't have the pylorus valve, so things move through your system really quick. You can experience dumping syndrome. With this surgery, because of the way that it's performed, dumping syndrome is very rare. And another thing that I don't think I brought up in my other videos is that with some of those surgeries, you're not able to take certain medications like painkillers. And after this surgery, NSAIDs are well tolerated. This surgery for me really combines the best parts of all those other surgeries and gets rid of a lot of the cons of those surgeries. So because of just everything that I have learned, I've decided that this is absolutely the best option for me. So I'm going to be having the Loop DS, SADI, SIPS surgery. And also I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what I've learned about my doctor, Dr. Daniel Cottom. So my surgeon actually teaches and trains other surgeons in bariatric surgery. He's been doing groundbreaking research on diabetes and bariatric surgery, and he is actually the very first surgeon in the United States, alongside Dr. Mitch Rosalind, to perform this specific surgery. So he's been doing it the longest out of anyone. He teaches, lectures, and proctors other surgeons from around the world, and he's been a center of excellence surgeon at his center since 2005. So I really feel like there's no one else out there who would be better to do this surgery. I could not be in better hands than with Dr. Daniel Cottom. And my aunt is a nurse. She works in a hospital out in Iowa, and she has spoken to her bariatric surgeon about the surgery that I'm getting and my doctor, because she, wants to look out for me, make sure that I'm doing the best thing that I can. And she told me that her bariatric surgeon there is just enamored with my doctor. He is so excited for my surgery, and he's not even performing it just because he knows the guy that's doing my surgery, and he says he's the guy, the number one best person to see. So I feel really blessed that my journey led me to him, because when I went to BMI, I did not know anything about him specifically, and I feel like everything has worked out in my favor the best that it possibly could be. And I am so excited to have this surgery, and I really hope that you follow along my journey, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.